Hello, everyone. So we are live again for yet another Author Live chat with fans. And today, 27th December 2022, 8 p.m. CST, we are live again on Facebook page, the International Book Promotions Facebook page. And Tuesdays, your next page turner. Today we have author Richard Rossi and Kelly Tabor to talk about the making of Lucy and the Lake Monster. So now, we have spoken to author Richard Rossi quite some time ago. He has been one of the guests that we had in the past, and it was a pleasure to have him on our show previously. And we spoke about his book, his movie as well. And today it's going to be about his book and also yet another movie, which is going to be based on the book, right? So it's going to be interesting. And today we have author Kelly, who also acted in the movie. So I'm so excited to have the both of them on our show today. And so here's a little bit about Kelly and Richard. So Kelly Tabor and Richard Rossi are the co-authors of the new novel Lucy and the Lake Monster, which is now available on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. It's in post-production, being edited as a film for release next year. Richard Rossi wrote and directed the film, and Kelly and Richard both acted in it. So without further ado, let's welcome them on the show. Right. Hello, Richard. Hello, Kelly.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to have the both of you on our show today and to talk about your book and your the movie that is going to be released soon next year. So, Richard, you are not new for us. We have connected in the past for an author live chat session, and it was fantastic to talk to you and also your co-author back then. So I'm so happy to have you back here today with our show, yet another show. And so how have you been, Richard?
Well, it is wonderful to see you again, Jasmina. The last time I was here was my film Canaan Land, which is kind of behind me there.
Yes.
And that novel and that film. But I'm so happy to be back with Kelly Tabor, who co-wrote and actually inspired the novel Lucy and the Lake Monster, which we're making into a film coming out next year. It's a beautiful film for children, but also for the child and adults. I think adults will like it too. Every one of us in our heart has a child deep down inside. But Kelly inspired the story. It's kind of loosely based on her childhood looking for a sea serpent in Lake Champlain. And Lake Champlain is a lake that borders New York and Vermont. Oh, thank you. You just put up the Jasmina, the Amazon. Yes, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble in both hard copy, Kindle, and here's I think the paperback, and then here's the hardback. And we're so blessed that so many people have been touched by the book and want to see the film. And we do have the film completely shot. So we're just editing and putting it together and, making sure it's going to, a lot of the secret sauces and the editing to make it, a really beautiful film.
Right. So thank you so much, Rosie, for the introduction. And Kelly, thank you so much for joining. How have you been? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I think we have not had you on our show before, and I'm so happy to have you here with us today. So, Kelly.
Thank you, Jasmina. I'm glad to be here too. I grew up in upstate New York, and for the last 30-something years, I've lived in South Carolina, and I've been a school teacher for 32 years, and I've recently retired. So I get to write full-time now and create with Richard, and I'm honored that he has asked me to write with him and to co-direct with him. It's just been a privilege and just a really enjoyable, fun time. because we get to put our creativity together. And so we've developed the book already, and it's selling, and we're getting very good responses about it. And when he asked me to do the film as well, I was thrilled. I've never done anything like this before, so it's all new to me. And of course, Richard has done several in the past, so he knows what to do. He knows the ropes, and so he's kind of leading and guiding me along, and it's just been a fun ride. I think for both of us, we work really well together.
Right. Fantastic. So, Richard, I think the book that we are discussing today is pretty much different from the genre that you did before, right? So this is for children, children's book, and so where did the idea come from? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I was quite sick after the interview we did. I had some health problems. I was in the hospital for a while. And, you know, you think about mortality at such a time and what I'd like to accomplish on a bucket list. And one of those things was, Jasvina, I'm a working actor, and I had the privilege to play the role of Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice in Wonderland, the great classic children's book. His real name was Reverend Charles Dotson. He was a minister. But in playing Lewis Carroll on stage in a hit musical about Alice, I thought to myself that I would love to do what he did and be a part of doing a beautiful story for children. And he was inspired to write that by a little girl that he knew, who was the daughter of a pastor he worked with at the church. And her name was Alice Slidell. But it was something I thought to myself, you know, I've made several movies and written novels, but I'd like to do something that could be hopefully a classic for children. Of course, that sounds quite ambitious. It's in God's hands how it turns out and how people receive it. And Kelly and I have been friends nearly 40 years, and she has told these magical stories to her students. And that's kind of the way Alice in Wonderland happened. Lewis Carroll would tell stories to Alice when they would be together, and she said, you should write these down. Well, you know, a lot of stories start as oral tradition. You know, even they think the Bible and even scripture started at first with a lot of oral traditions, because a lot of it was written down decades after the events. So I thought to myself, you know, here for decades, Kelly has told about, you know, her childhood looking for this sea serpent named Champ. In fact, I have Champ with me today. This is Champ. He's a plesiosaur at Champlain. Kelly has one too. And I thought, well, this, you know, she has her students return decades later and tell her how much they love her stories. This is kind of my Alice in Wonderland. And thankfully, I got through about 4 surgeries. I had a gifted surgeon, Dr. Julio, here in Los Angeles, who saved my life. And I thought, well, this is the perfect story. And I would love to bring this story to the children about a little girl looking for the sea serpent in Lake Champlain with her grandfather. And in the film, I play the grandfather, Papa. And we have a very gifted actress, Emma Pearson. That's Emma right there on the cover. And she is playing little Lucy, based on Kelly's childhood somewhat. And Kelly plays the school teacher, Miss Marino, in the film version that'll be out next year.
Ah, right. So the writing process of the book, right? So I believe you started this with the book and then later the movie. Am I right to say that?
Yes, that's correct. The book was first. So the film will be pretty close to the book, but there are things in the film that aren't in the book that we came about through improvisation and different creative things. So we will have a second edition of this book. This is what we call the first edition. The second edition will include the screenplay as well as the novel, and it will include expanded scenes that were in the film that weren't in the first edition. It'll have still photos from the film, things like that. So, but yeah, the book was first, but then we had the challenge to go to New York this past summer, and we actually filmed it near the lake where all the story takes place. And so we had quite an adventure, and we had a magical cabin that we were blessed to have. Some friends, Mark and Alita, had a cabin that just fit the way that we envisioned the story, and it was quite a magical find to find that cabin. thanks to Andrea Nessie, a woman who her and her husband Cal have a place called the Home of Champ, where they sell a lot of memorabilia about Champ, the sea serpent, and they guided us. And so a lot of the locals there really guided us when we needed something. The whole town was supportive. It was on the front page while we were filming there. They kept doing these front page stories that were just, I mean, we couldn't have written it better. It looks like we wrote it because they were so supportive and so positive about everything we were doing on the front page of the paper there in New York. We were so blessed to have that kind of coverage by great writers there in New York, like Laura McKinstry, who's one of the best journalists ever in New York. And he's been writing for decades. He wrote so many beautiful stories. Actually, you could Google Press Republican Lucy and the Lake Monster and read, I think, at least 3 or 4 front page stories he did. So we've been very blessed with the publicity. You know, even the film's not even out yet, and we've had more publicity than films that have spent hundreds of millions of dollars on the movie and publicists, and we're getting more front page coverage. We're very, very lucky. All that's happened to us.
Including CBS News.
Yeah, CBS. Yeah, WCAX is the local CBS affiliate. There's some wonderful TV spots where they filmed. Well, they were there at the set live and covering on CBS, and then we get to do interviews with wonderful interviewers like you, Jasmina. So we're very blessed because, you know, for it to be another children's popular book, we need people like you that love books and promote books to ask us about it. So thanks for asking us about it.
It's my pleasure, because I think digital media that we have right now and the powerful video marketing that we all have the privilege to make use of it, right? To leverage video marketing. And this is what I aspire to do. I aspire to connect readers and authors, to bridge the gap between readers and authors through video marketing. And I think video is definitely one of the powerful tools out there. Like it shortens the distance between people, and I think that's the beauty of it. And I think that's the beauty of getting connected to people and getting up close with fans like you, authors like the both of you, getting up close with fans and taking up questions, getting to know them. I think it builds brand eventually. And it also strengthens your tie between authors, right, yourself, and also readers out there. So I think eventually the branding process happens naturally over time, and that's how you would attract the tribe, your tribe, people who love what you do, right, naturally. So this is what I aspire to do. I am very glad that I'm able to assist authors in this manner. So now, speaking about the book and the movie, right? So we know that the book is out. It's on Amazon. We just saw the link to Amazon, and we saw the hardcover, the soft copy of the book. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on Kindle. Am I right?
Yes, Kindle and Barnes and Noble, and also Barnes and Noble has something I think called Nook, which I think is like Kindle.
Yes,
that they have it on there also. Yeah. So,
right. So, but the movie.
What was that, Jasmina?
The movie is not out yet, right? So
no, not out yet. We have about 70 minutes edited of the first cut of the film.
Okay.
And it'll probably be about 90 minutes or so. So we're almost done with that first cut, and then that will be modified and improved, colorization, improving the audio, all these things in post-production that a film goes through to, really make it great. They say a film's written 3 times. You write the screenplay as the first time. The second time you shoot it and decide exactly how the director lines up these shots. Okay, how is this shot going to look?
Yeah.
And then that's the second time you write it, the filming. The third time is what we're doing now, the editing. and that really is going to determine the film. And it's so great in the editing, even as a rough cut. It's my fourth feature film I've wrote and directed. This one wrote it with Kelly and directed, and she was the assistant director. But this, by far, of all my films, I think is going to be the best one, and it's going to reach people of all ages, children and adults will like it too, because it has some allegorical meaning. Yes, it's a child's tale about a grandpa and Lucy looking for a sea serpent, and they have bullies and mercenary people trying to stop them, that they have to overcome these challenges. But there's a very symbolic, allegorical meaning on a deeper level for adults. So adults will like it too.
Right. So I have seen, like, you have several reviews on Amazon, and I believe people have read the book at this point of time, right? So tell us a little bit about the reviews that you've been getting, and feedback from readers.
Would you like to answer that, Kelly? Because you've been getting feedback on these stories, not only the book reviews, but even for decades.
Yeah, so it's been really exciting for me, because as a child, I grew up in upstate New York on Lake Champlain, and there's always been talk of a sea creature there, and known as Champ, the Lake Champlain monster, and it's kind of similar to what you would hear about the Loch Ness monster. And so all my life, I've always looked for it. And so when I was a school teacher, I'd always tell my students stories that I heard when I was little about people in my community or local communities that had seen it, and also family members that I have that apparently have seen it, and the experiences that I have had thinking that I may have seen the effects of Champ. And so when I would tell my students stories like this, of course, kids love it. They were on the edge of their seats. Tell me more. And, they try to get me off topic from teaching math or a different subject, because they wanted me to tell the stories. So, of course, I had to do the regular subjects first, but my stories always came second. A lot of times at dismissal time, I would tell them stories, and they always wanted me to write the stories down. And so when I began talking with Richard about this, he was very interested, and he said, well, how would you like to write a children's book series? So I couldn't believe it, because I absolutely love writing. I love storytelling. And so I was thrilled to be asked to do such a thing with somebody like Richard, because Richard's brilliant. I mean, he's just a wonderful and creative person. And, we wrote the book, and then when we started getting reviews, I was thrilled, because it's like a dream come true for me. People they just seem very positive about it, and it's just been exciting, because and Richard wants, it's nothing more thrilling to know that somebody enjoys something that you have done out of our hearts. It's like a labor of love, like Richard has said before. Writing this story about this little orphan girl who was adopted by her grandfather, and it's their quest to see Champ. Being a school teacher, I've seen all kinds of things that children go through. They go through loss of a parent sometimes, or they go through bullying, or they go through grief and pain. And as a school teacher, I always like to help them or provide services to help them, such as a counseling or something like that within the school. And so throughout the book, when Lucy faces things like this, we tried to give tidbits of information that could help even the reader of all ages, even an adult, when they're going through possibly some of the things that Lucy went through. And so we wanted it to be helpful. And so when we get good reviews like this, I think our goal is coming through to people as they read it. And so there's nothing that makes me more happy, because, I want it to be helpful. Not just enjoyable for people to read, but I want it to be something that's helpful for them as well in their own personal lives, if they're going through some of the things that maybe Lucy and Papa have gone through. So I'm really thrilled with the reviews that we've got. They've been very positive, and it's been encouraging and a blessing.
And I think that, one of the beautiful things about works of creativity, right, I think, is the ability to connect with people who are going through similar things in life. And I think it just glues people, and it builds connection from there. And it feels like, hey, I don't feel I'm alone, right?
Yeah.
I can relate to this, right? So in that sense, what do you, Kelly, like, since this book is more towards your personal experience as a child, growing up, and what you saw in the past. So what do you aspire for readers, for more readers out there to to pick from your book? Like, what is the hope that you have?
Well, my hope is for them to enjoy it, enjoy the reading, and also for them to be helped when they're going through maybe some life crisis or difficulty. And so I hope it can bring encouragement and hope to them as they're reading. What do you think, Richard?
Yes, I think that when people see themselves in the story, Lucy has to go against what a lot of other people think, that mock her in her belief in Champ. There's bullies that make fun of her.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that children get the message that it's okay to follow your own star, to think for yourself, to think and believe in something that others might judge you for. Throughout history, people that have believed differently or thought differently have been persecuted. Some in the religious world, they're called heretics, but a lot of times these people that think differently are the ones that change history. I mean, Galileo and Copernicus, for example, discovered that the earth was revolving around the sun, that we had what was known as a heliocentric universe rather than a geocentric universe, that the earth was going around the sun. Well, the church judged them and damned them to hell, had councils and excommunicated them because their interpretation of the Bible was, it's a story where it says the sun was stopped and made to stand still in the sky so Joshua could win the battle. And so they said the Bible's teaching that the sun moves, and you're teaching that the earth is moving around the sun. So for whatever reason at that time, because they thought differently, they were heretics. Well, Lucy believes in Champ, and people mock her, and bullies make fun of her, and goes through all this alienation, and her and her papa are looked down upon. But sometimes, there's a God sometimes that chooses the foolish to confound the wise. And, they were looked at as fools and eccentrics for their belief in Champ. But Lucy and her papa, they stick to their heart, and they love each other, and they love Champ. And I think it's a story that people can relate to, because many of us have felt judged if we thought differently or believed differently. She's even put down because her and her papa are kind of poor, and we are in a society. There's often a caste system in many societies. In America, the caste system is like the rich and the famous are considered above everybody else. But Lucy and Papa are kind of low on the rungs of the ladder in some people's eyes. But the story shows that, if you follow your heart, if you do what you love doing, that you can prove them all wrong. Like you, Jasvina, you love promoting books, and you had a vision to do a show like this. There might have been people that didn't get your vision at first, but here you are, you're doing it, and you're doing all these interviews, right? So I hope that people get that you can follow what you have a dream to do, what you have a heart to do.
Yeah, right. And another thing in the story is Papa and Lucy, they don't have everything that's shiny and new. And, Lucy's picked on because of that. But in the story, it's obvious that Papa and Lucy, they don't have to have everything shiny and new to be happy and to have love for each other and just to enjoy the days. For example, Papa's guitar in the story, Richard plays Papa Jerry, and he makes beautiful music with his $8 guitar. And something that one of the bullies' fathers doesn't do with an expensive guitar. And so it's just, it's a beautiful thing, you know, that I hope it comes through to people too, that, you know, you don't always have to have the best of things and the most expensive things to be happy, because that's not where it's all at.
Yeah, Papa plays the guitar. There's a song in the film. I'll just give you a few seconds of it. It goes, it goes. Since you called my name, I haven't been the same. Now I spend my nights on Lake Champlain. We're entwined by design. We're searching until we find the legend of the lake that transcends time. My lake lady, on our boat on the sea, just you, Champ, and me.
Bravo.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so, I mean, like, I know that, you know, the movie is right now in post-production process. And do you have a release date on mind yet? Like, you know, anticipated?
Well, I'd like
date?
it to come out maybe early summer if possible. That might, you know, sometimes post-production takes longer than you want, but it'd be nice to have it early summer when kids are out of school. And there's a big Champ Day celebration in Port Henry, New York, where we filmed, and we signed a lot of books. Emma Pearson, the leading lady who plays Lucy, and Kelly and I, we signed a lot of these books at Champ Day. There were several hundred people there that we met that came for the Champ Day and the book signing. And there's all kind of things about the lake monster. It was a big festival. And so that's in the summertime. So I think it'd be really nice if we could premiere the film in that area where the story takes place, close to the time of Champ Day at the latest would be really nice, because all these people are coming. Port Henry, New York, the little lake town where this happened, is normally maybe 1,200 residents. But when the summer comes and Champ Day comes, everybody's off from school and work and goes to the lake. And you go from about 1,200 people in Port Henry to about 12,000. And so we think it'd be really nice because the people were extras in the film. They helped us out. We ate in their restaurants. We stayed in their places. The cast and crew were supported by the town so well that I think it'd be really nice to give that town of New York the first screenings in New York, in Port Henry, Crown Point, New York, Burlington, Vermont, that area where this all happened. Would be really nice to premiere the film there in the summer.
Fantastic.
Yes, anytime we needed anything from people, for example, the cabin, Mark and Alita, and then there's Rick's cabin as well, where we did some scenes of some beach scenes
Rick was a
water scenes, and everybody was just so nice and supportive and happy, because, you know, there have been over 300 eyewitness sightings in this area alone in Boaga Bay, and all the people around here know about Champ, and they may have had relatives that have seen it, or family members, or they have seen it. And you can go on the Discovery Channel and see things about it, and people of the area even speaking about it. And we were just so thankful for all the support that we've had along the way, with people just being excited about the book and film. There's stores in the area, little stores that are selling our books, and they're just happy to have it in there as well. So we're thrilled.
Fantastic. Now, Kelly, I'm just wondering how does it feel right now, since it's your childhood story, it's what you went through when you were a kid, and now you're seeing it in the form of a book, and soon in the form of a movie.
I'm on cloud nine. My students always told me, Mrs. They always thought their teacher should write her stories down, but I always told them, so Richard was the first. I mean, there was a couple little stories that I had written down before, but when Richard came along and asked me to do this, it's the first time I've actually done something as great as this one. And it wouldn't have happened without Richard, because Richard, he invited me to do it with him, and he was just the help that I needed to go over that hump to actually get some work done with it. And thanks to him.
Fantastic.
Well, thanks to you, Kelly, because you were the muse and the catalyst who told me about Champ. I'd never known about Champ. I'd known about the Loch Ness Monster, but I didn't know that New York had a similar plesiosaur in that lake. And, you know, I did hear about a lake monster on Scooby-Doo when I was a kid. There was an episode of Scooby-Doo called Scooby-Doo Meets the Lake Monster, but I didn't know about Champ. But now Champ and I are friends.
Yes.
Fantastic. And I think that by looking at the reviews, I saw someone reviewing and saying that, my 9-year-old kid, loved the book, and it was very enjoyable. And, those reviews, really pleasant and fantastic reviews that you've had so far. And I think as more people read it, I guess that would encourage others to also pick up the book and read. And, just wondering, what is the element that is in the book but is not in the movie? Like, I'm sure that there are a few things, there are a few differences, right?
Well, one of the things with a novel, you can get more into the interior monologue and thoughts of a character. You can talk about what they're thinking about. And as actors, we had to show that on our face. We have that subtext, that history in our mind, and we're thinking it up here. But in a novel, you can literally, if you use an omniscient voice, talk about, Papa was remembering the death of his daughter in a boating accident and was haunted by this. But in the movie, I don't really say that, but you have to kind of read that even though I'm a loving grandfather, you have to sometimes see, hopefully in my performance, that there is a dark past with Papa. I was a drinker. I struggled to get sober, and now I have to raise my granddaughter, and he, talks to her a little bit about things like that. But the novel's able to go much more into, because, good characters are nuanced. They're not totally good or totally bad. Although in children's literature, sometimes they're more one-dimensional. The villains can be more cartoonish and things like that. But at the same time, in a novel, you can really get into all those nuances of what makes a person the way they are. For example, there's a woman who's a villain in the story, her and her boyfriend, Beasleby, Mercenary Mike. And, you can see in the movie that she hates Lucy, and she wants to capture Champ and just get money from Champ. And she's a vicious woman. But in the novel, you get to go more into her background. Well, why is she so jealous? Well, here she was jealous of Lucy's mother. They were in school together, and Lucy's mother was, the beautiful cheerleader and star athlete. And she's had this pathological jealousy for years brewing inside of her. But in the film, we don't really delve into that. That's a book can give you more, flesh it out more than a movie can. Those kind of things. I don't know. I don't know what, Kelly, what would you add to that?
No, I think that's well put. Very well said.
Right.
Little details like that in a book where you can read about, and like you said, the subtext in a movie, people just have to kind of read into what he might be thinking at that time, depending on how the acting is.
Fantastic. Now, Kelly, and I think Joe Rossi says, awesome live stream. Looking forward to seeing the movie.
Oh, thank you, Joe. That's my brother Joe weighing in. Joe's pretty technological savvy. He found a way to get a message to us. Thanks, Joe. Joe is my brother, and he's working with me on the music soundtrack. He's doing a phenomenal job. The music from this film, I believe, is going to be beloved. I mean, I gave you a little sample of the song, but he's doing great soundtrack work. And Emma is going to be recording a song after the first of the year that I wrote for her. I'll just give you a second of it, but Emma's going to be singing a song in the film I wrote called Papa and Me, and it goes something like this. Papa, Papa and me, we're sailing the sea. Papa and me. It's something like that, you know. So the music my brother's working on, he runs our recording studio in the East Coast. My brother Pete founded the recording studio. He passed away. My brother Pete unfortunately passed away, my youngest brother. Joe is carrying on the legacy of the studio and recording the soundtrack. And I've never worked so hard on a soundtrack and so intentionally, so detailed as Joe and I are with this film. My last film, Canaan Land, 5 of the songs I wrote for that film were on the Oscar list for Best Song Consideration. So you can Google Variety and Hollywood Reporter, Oscar song list, Canaan Land, Richard Rossi, and 5 of my songs were on the consideration for Oscars. So, but this film, I believe the music's going to be top notch. The soundtrack, the music can be so important because in a film, in the audio track, you're dealing with 3 elements. You got the dialogue when the characters are talking, you have sound effects, but then thirdly, you have the music, and I believe the music's going to be a good part of this film.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was in the music. I was in the music studio, and I got to hear part of it, and I was in awe because I can't even imagine being in a theater. You know, when they have the surround sound.
Yes.
I was just so excited. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to listen to more and more of it because I thought, oh my gosh, that's our film music. I was so thrilled. Joe's doing a phenomenal job with Richard. Awesome. Great job, Joe.
Thank you, Joe, for watching and also for leaving comments, and we appreciate that. And with that, we are coming to the end of the show. So do you, the both of you, have anything to say to the audience out there? What's your message to the audience out there?
Ladies first, Kelly.
Well, I just want to thank everybody for their support. You all have been wonderful. The comments that we get on Facebook and in person as well is knowing that we're satisfying our audience is encouraging, and it makes us just want to keep going and do more.
And
Richard?
Well, I will finish just reading a few lines at the end of the book and share it with you.
Sure.
As Lucy and Papa paddled toward their humble cabin, a still small voice assured them they would find more answers in their next journey. The lake was pure and peaceful again. The best was yet to come. Papa, when I close my eyes, I see Mama in heaven, and I see Champ. They're always with me, Papa. Lucy trusted her own heart more than anything that anybody else could ever say. You're right, Lucy, Papa said. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. If you only believe, all things are possible to the one who believes. It's the magic of believing, Papa, Lucy said. Just then, Champ poked out his chicken nugget-shaped turtle head, as Lucy called it. He arose from Lake Champlain and smiled at little Lucy. She smiled and waved back, "Hi, Champ!" And then Champ submerged back under the water. Lucy looked out at Bawaga Bay, surveying the shore. She marveled at the majestic cedar, birch, and oak trees they sprouted up on the shoreline. She thought about all she'd learned on her champtastic journey. Then she repeated some lyrics that she wrote with Papa. These lyrics said what her and Papa believe, but actually they said what all wonderful people on earth believe. I look to the lake and I look above. because the best things you can't see with your eyes, like magic and love, magic and love, magic and love. And that's the end of the book.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, so I will be putting this video, this interview, up on Instagram and also on YouTube. So
thank you.
Yes. So I will be sending the links to you guys, and those who are not on Facebook, those who are in case having difficulties to catch the replay on Facebook, can always go to YouTube and Instagram to catch up the video, and hopefully this will give you more exposure and more people would check it out. And I'm so happy to have the both of you here. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to talk about not just your book, but also the upcoming movie. And wish you all the best. And I hope that, once it's out, people will enjoy the movie as much as they enjoyed the book.
Well, we'd like to screen it where you are. I don't know if you can say on air where you are. Are you in another country where you're broadcasting from?
Yes, correct. I am from Malaysia.
Malaysia, because I'd like to come bring it there too. Now, Malaysia, what percentage of the people there are well versed in English? Would it be better to have it subbed or subtitled or dubbed in the Malaysian language?
We have English movies over here in theaters. I mean, it's perfectly fine. I mean, English is definitely one of the languages.
Well, when we show it in Malaysia, I would like you to host the screening, and you can interview us live at the screening after the film is shown. You could interview us live, and we could meet people.
Hey, we could definitely work it out. I mean, definitely we could, work it out and find, ways to get that done. I mean, it will be fantastic. It will be great to,
because this is a story for the children of the world, all children.
Yes, I mean, it's. I think it doesn't matter where you're from, but I think when it's a children's book, people will just, able to relate to it no matter where they're from. And I think that's the beauty of children, just being children, connecting with each other, regardless of background, regardless of nationalities. I think that's the beauty of children.
Because children love each other. Like, children all play together and love each other.
Exactly.
And that's the way God wants us to be, because there's an old song about how God loves all the children of the world, red, yellow, black, white, they're all precious in his sight. And people are taught prejudice. People are taught racism, sadly, as they grow up. But children have pure hearts.
Correct.
And they will play. And so we want this film to be something that all the children of the world enjoy it.
Exactly. And let's explore the opportunities out there, Richard, and I will be in touch with you, the both of you.
Okay, well, I'm going to go on Google Flights and see how much it costs to fly to Malaysia.
Sure. I mean, it would be a pleasure to, now that COVID, is not as bad.
COVID was rough on movies, Jasvina. In fact, my film Canaanland was in the Academy Award competition. It was under consideration for Best Picture. And normally the Best Picture list is screened in theaters in Los Angeles and New York. But due to COVID, we weren't even able to do the normal thing. We had to do outdoor drive-in screenings with cars, 6 feet apart, and it was nuts. And then they had a private Academy screening room where we put our films in there, and it was on the internet, and the judges had to, watch it on their laptops. But now that COVID is improved, Lucy, when Lucy qualifies for awards, knock on wood, hopefully, Lord willing, we will have to, we will be back to, I think, the normal process of showing it in New York and Los Angeles for the awards qualifications, hopefully.
Exactly. And I hope that everything goes well for the both of you. Thank you so much, Richard. I will be sending the links to you guys once it's up on YouTube.
God bless you for your time and your good work, and you're a wonderful host.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelly. It's a pleasure to meet the both of you in this show. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Same to you. Bye-bye.
Happy New Year to you. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you too.
Happy New Year to you.